Michael Schoen, born here in Chandler, Arizona. What was I doing before Clever? I was doing anti-money laundering and fraud for PayPal, Discover, and that's after a lot of career changes from electrical work, other real estate ventures, etc. They're local, and I thought that was cool. So the first time I saw Cody, he was in front of a house, and I was like, I reckon like that's an Arizona house, and it ended up being a unit in Mesa. And so I was just like, well, if he's doing that here, he's got to know something I can learn. And he just, like, the more I looked into what they do and talked to them, I was like, these guys they're not trying to broadcast everywhere else. They're not, they're not doing that roadshow thing, like, come and see me, but I'm not really going to be there. I'll have somebody else be there. And so that's what really piqued my interest in Clever. As far as how the event is going, it is intense. And I mean that in a good way. Like, I have had more notes and more great stories in 2 days. And I mean, this is the third day. So I think I probably have 6 pages of notes, and just hearing how they're talking, like, it really makes me rethink about how creative I am. Like, if you think you're a creative person, listen to what they're saying, and you're like, I wouldn't have ever thought of that. Not even close. In fact, after 10 years, I probably wouldn't have thought of that. And I think that's a lot of power. I would say that's a lot of power. As far as some of the breakthroughs, I would say, like, I'm thinking, like, because I'm going back to what I have on my notes. Some of the breakthroughs would be, what strengths do I really have that I'm not taking advantage of? And probably even more of a breakthrough, and also a little bit of a slap, would be, what are my weaknesses that I'm not capitalizing on, that I'm not working on or ignoring? And I would say that's some of the breakthroughs. Another one was just how quick and easy it is to limit yourself. You're like, okay, if I can get a deal with $8,000, if I can get a deal with $20,000, that's great. And they're like, well, why not get a deal with $50,000? Why not get a deal that has multiple deals within that one deal for $50,000 each? And you're just like, yeah, why not? Why didn't I think about that or go ahead with that? Or, it's whatever you're expanding yourself to be, they've done it, so they're gonna expand you more. Like, it's kind of like talking to somebody who's like, oh, I can't wait to get enough money to fix my car. Why not get enough money to buy a brand new car? Why not get enough money to buy an amazingly brand new car? Like, oh, I have a Honda Civic, well, now I can get a new one. Well, now I can go get a Lexus, or whatever it may be. They're jumping, actually, like leaps and bounds over whatever baby steps that I thought I needed to take. My favorite part of the event would be, oh man, that's hard. Arcadio communicates like I do, I would say. Mike is definitely like, wake up, realize you have the potential. And Eric, I would say Eric is probably one of my favorites to listen to, just because he's everywhere. He's like, oh, you want to know about problems? You want to know about some of my problems? But he doesn't present it that way. He's like, no, I know all about problems, and I know how you can overcome them. I've had this, I've had this, I've had this, and I had to do it. I had to do it, and now I can do whatever I want. And so I would say hearing some of his personal stories, like a question that I love that he does is, oh, I know this can go wrong. Ask me how I know. Like, he'll look right, ask me how I know this. And it's just like, that's rough. Like, I don't want to know how you know that. Like, oh, I can have a deal go for $80,000 and then this goes wrong. Ask me how I know. It's like, I don't want to know how you know. And so I would say listening to Eric, because he's really, really been down the rough paths that I haven't, and he's light years away from where he was. And I think, and he's gonna look at you. There's nothing condescending or arrogant about hearing the way he talks. And I think that's pretty unique to be in his spot. As far as somebody who's like on the fence of whether they should jump into Clever or not jump into Clever, I would say absolutely yes. But I'm also gonna say it's a whole world. So if for example, Clever has 10 modules to look into, right? They're not small modules. Each module is like a bar exam book. And so there's just so much information to go into, but they give it to you. and they even tell you where to go find other stuff. And so if you wanted to set up an LLC, this is how you can do this and this is how you can do that. And you know, they're not just throwing information at you, they're organizing the information. But again, I mean, it's absolutely worth it, but you have to go into it. The more you go into it, the more you're gonna know what you need to ask, what you're not understanding. And that's partly why I came here, is I have access to that, and it just made me realize how much I'm not going into it as often as I should. Like when I'm at work, I could be listening to these modules. He does interviews with other real estate people. One of them I actually know of. I have a book by him, and I've crossed paths with him personally. And it's like, wait, even he talked to him. And I mean, that's just, why am I not listening to these? And so for anyone who's on the fence, yes, do it. And yes, make sure you pay attention to what's really there and what's been given to you. Don't just be like, okay, I got this stuff. No, like really dive into it, because it's gonna take time. It's gonna take a lot of time to go through it. With the quality of information, I mean, it's a ton. And so whatever you think you know, listen to it again, because you're gonna find something you don't know. And what you don't know, that's really where you're gonna, like, I would encourage everyone to try and come up to the questions that will help you get to the knowledge of what you don't know. And so they're gonna say terminology you don't know. And I mean, they're not gonna talk to you as if they're, you know, reading you terms and agreements like a lawyer would, but it really narrows down to, this is how big it can be. Oh, well, I just wanna do wholesaling. Okay, well, wholesaling is really big. Well, I just wanna do fix and flip. Okay, but it's really big. And so the quality of the education and the information is definitely there. My only advice is don't watch it once. Like you're gonna want to go through it again and again, because it's just that much. Even as simplified as Cody and Clever has made it, it's a lot. Like I was telling some of them in there, it's a lot. Like, do not think you can just, okay, here's a module here, I completed it, off the checklist. You're probably gonna need to go back.